With the Illuminates' invasion of Super-Earth, the Helldivers have been joined by auxiliaries from the Super-Earth Armed Forces, or SEAF. They're useless, like, remarkably, but they're exactly what I wanted, and I love them. They appear throughout the city streets of Super-Earth alongside many civilians, and they definitely do their best, defending the heart of democracy. Helldivers having allied AI is so incredibly refreshing, and it doesn't even matter that they're terrible. I don't care that a squad of SEAF can barely take down a dozen voteless, and they blow themselves up, and me, all the time. I will not let you hurt them. It's good to see this sentiment shared across the community too, even if some people are taking it a bit too far and clearly haven't played Republic Commando. Probably close to, if not the all-time high mark for friendly AI. Not biased, by the way. I do wish you could extract with them, especially if you could bring all the SEAF survivors that you extract with onto your next mission. The Hell Pod is probably a little scary for him though, so let him deploy in a Pelican. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. There's a lot of ways SEAF can be better integrated into the game in the future, and I'm just really excited about it. The invasion of Super-Earth will not last forever. Whether it is won or lost, this one is not actually predetermined by the way, rules for either a successful defense or total loss were leaked, and that brings up the question of what will happen to SEAF after that. There is a couple options, and I think some would really undercut what makes their implementation in these cities so good. The most obvious is to make SEAF into a stratagem, like what was leaked way back when I made my first few videos on Helldivers last year. This would be an extreme waste of potential for reasons that I'll get into. Another potential for implementing SEAF into other missions would be to have them as a buy-in type thing. You pay requisition, you get SEAF reinforcements for your mission. This is acceptable, but the cost would be irrelevant or really annoying with no in-between. But I think the actual best case is to just have them in almost every mission from now on, spawning randomly. And randomly is important. If they always spawn in the same place, exclusive to the same prefads every time, they will get very predictable and boring, but if they can just show up anywhere, that's how memorable encounters are born, something happening right now on Super-Earth all the time. In future, with more SEAF variants, these encounters could be enhanced significantly depending on what kind of SEAF are included. There is so much interactivity that could be included here. Most obviously would be infantry with various support weapons like the machine gun or the railgun, maybe some medics that could stim their friends, and you, and a SEAF soldier with an ammo backpack that could give you a team reload. A backpack that lets you team reload anyone would be a great idea for a player backpack, actually. Sorry, that's off topic. SEAF need their mechanized support, and while additional infantry variants would be great, I would love to see SEAF exosuits. Seeing a distant SEAF walker dynamically drawing the fire and attention of a bunch of enemies is a sight that I hope to see one day. Encounters like that also lead to very natural COD 4 moments, where you could take the distraction for what it is, give them a salute as they sacrifice themselves, and move on, or do all in your power to keep them alive. Despite there being no intrinsic reward for that, there doesn't need to be. For a vote saved is a vote cast. My favorite aspect of them being around in Super-Earth is that you will stumble across them randomly. There is no intentional coordination, you get to hear the sound of a liberator and make the choice yourself to run to it, and do your best to save the children from the oncoming waves of demise. It's a two-way street too. Maybe they'll save you as you get rushed down by an overseer and a heroic lone soldier comes up to your aid right in your time of need. It makes the world feel super alive, and it opens up all these opportunities for really dynamic encounters, which can be as simple as seeing SEAF holding the line a street away, or walking up yourself and declaring that no squid will get past this democratic intersection. If they were a stratagem or something that you have to buy into, that entire aspect would be lost. On top of that, their sporadic and inconsistent placement means that them being bad really doesn't matter. It's kind of part of the charm. If they were a stratagem that you had to call in, you'd be replacing a 380 with 5 dunces. Especially against the automatons, they would all perish instantly. There'd be endless dead horse-kicking competitions about if SEAF are really worth it, and complaints about them being bad. You know how Reddit goes. After the flag came out, Jesus Christ, you'd have thought Arrowhead insulted them personally. SEAF are understandably much less useful in higher difficulties, but on lower ones were much more pronounced and didn't all just die immediately because there were so many less enemies. I wonder if they were balanced in playtests, not easier difficulties, which also makes me want to ask, what difficulty are people playing this game on? Like, what difficulty do you play on? This is a genuine question, by the way. I've pretty much always been playing on 10, but honestly, it's probably not the best way to experience the game. I assumed everyone else did too, but that's definitely not the case. There are plenty of lobbies on any planet for every tier. I've got most of what I want at this point rewards-wise, so if there is a better level, I would migrate to it happily. And speaking of difficulty, way back now in my video about this game's difficulty, the very last thing I suggested was for SEAF to set up on destroyed enemy outposts and to turn every mission into a Far Cry outpost takeover. And since then, a community member posted this art, which really encapsulates exactly what I meant. I know including that sounds completely ridiculous with the current scope of the game, and it might be, but hear me out. It might be theoretically possible given a lot of time. Don't get me wrong, something like this would take a long time to make, I don't have any illusions about that. A year out would be the most optimistic timeframe at best, maybe even 2, given that Arrowhead are still actively supporting the game during this time. After the defense of Super Earth, regardless of how that goes, they could very well have many months of major orders about building up SEAF's forces after they were so well received by the Helldivers. So over the next year, you could have some SEAF drip feeds, like them getting deployed to combat zones with the DSS, or something like that, with different variants being deployed over time. This would hopefully give them enough dev time to try to make the idea of SEAF taking over outposts a reality, even if it was only one front at a time, similar to the rollouts of cities. I would love to see SEAF coming in and helping out with the fighting, even if it's just in token ways. Doing this can really make the war that you're fighting feel like a real war. Up until now, we've seen so few other humans that I distinctly remember players speculating on if the whole war was a sham, and wondering if literally any of the planets were ever even colonized. With dozens of allied fighters coming to our aid every mission, it would most certainly dispel that undemocratic suspicion. That's my pie-in-the-sky hope for Helldivers over the next while. It would fill a niche that really no other major games are trying for right now since Battlefront 4 was abandoned. A large-scale, sci-fi, half-war game, half-battle simulation. What they've stumbled into here with SEAF is so good that it is genuinely worth an overhaul of some base systems rather than just some token stratagems. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. I just really like SEAF. Guard dog, no! What I just described is not really realistic anytime soon, unless this was secretly Arrowhead's plan the whole time, which I doubt, given that Helldivers was not projected to be like the biggest surprise hit of the entire year or anything. I just love me some AI allies like Halo Marines, and the devs clearly do too, given that SEAF soldiers look like a palette swap of Halo Wars Marines. And that isn't a complaint, by the way. I love those guys, and the aesthetic of SEAF is right up my alley. Please make waving the flag give them buffs. SEAF don't necessarily need to be better, but there is a lot of ways that they could be improved. They often just stand around and point or cheer in the middle of fights, which can be a little annoying, but it's pretty clear why they do this, because after you see one of the rare times when they don't do any of these animations and instead lock the fuck in, they just mow down everything. It's not uncommon for an enemy to get through, though, and SEAF get mobbed incredibly easily thanks to their really long damage animations and complete lack of any melee attacks. 2 or more soldiers are astronomically stronger than just 1 because they can, in theory anyway, cover each other, whereas a lone soldier is just gonna get stun-locked and maimed unless you save them. Arrowhead already made all of the building prefabs, adding some spots out of the navigation to mark decent cover positions that SEAF could stand in is probably advisable, and the tech to do that isn't new. With one console command, CSS, which is a game that is depressingly over 2 decades old now, can generate a nav mesh that has cover positions marked automatically for bots to use. If SEAF could dynamically take cover and make them way more useful than how they are right now, though given how this game's AI is in general at interacting with environments, it's probably not as capable as Valve's 20-year-old bots. Dynamically taking cover is probably out of the equation for now, but I'd be happy if Arrowhead got them to naturally and automatically gravitate towards elevated positions instead of waddling around aimlessly as a good first step. Until then, trying to keep them alive will most certainly put your trigger discipline to the test, but it is a lot of fun to try to keep them all alive, even if it is basically a Sisyphusian task. The boys in blue aren't the only ones that test your trigger discipline, though. The SEAF soldiers aren't the only new allied NPCs and missions, there's also civilians now, which brings me hope that the Save Civilians mission will be reworked into something that's less terrible. If the entire mission was basically civilians flooding the streets for evac while you cover them, that would be astronomically better than what's currently in the game, I think. It's also something I described wanting in the game almost verbatim a couple months ago when the cities first came out. The objectives they chose for the Illuminate are also terrible. Seriously, the Save Civilians mission? Especially now, these could be frantic street defenses where you have hundreds of targets and are forced to quickly determine the vote list from the voteful, but instead, it is the same press button mission. Somehow, right now, despite all of this, the press button mission persists even on Super Earth. Now, SEAF aren't the only thing that I wanted. I was quite disappointed with the city maps that they released with the Illuminate because they had a couple main problems. A really boring grid layout, a killer lack of diversity in parcels, and a lack of indoor areas. The Super Earth Megacities do not have any of these problems. They fixed all of them. The new megacities are comprised of a bunch of roads, of course, but they're way less grid-like, something aided by how on the map they're all at angles, which on paper seems like it shouldn't matter, but in practice it makes each one feel much less like exploring a set of graph paper. Human brains be like that and are easy to trick. The old cities had a whole 8.5 parcels that could spawn that were unrelated to objectives, see my video here, but there is way more diversity in the megacities. I'm not going to go through and count them all, because doing that for the old cities video took several days and part of my sanity, permanently, but the increase in diversity is so obvious that I know I don't need to. There's even interesting level geometry not tied to objectives at all, which is something that I complained about at length in that video. Before, places in cities that weren't objectives were just going to be streets and some boxes disguised as houses, but now there's courtyards, verticality, and even some sunken bits that are just like, around, making everywhere that you go interesting rather than just the places that you have to go to. And lastly, I was very annoyed by the lack of inclusion of indoor areas in the old cities, which the megacities still don't have. They haven't added indoor areas, which will make you wonder why I said that they solved it, but it's because that they found a good compromise. In the center of a bunch of buildings, there will often be claustrophobic courtyards and areas only accessible by small alleyways. These are effectively indoors as they necessitate clearing angle by area. What the fuck? Why can I not say this? As they necessitate clearing angle by angle, and are very closed in while still working with the constraints of the game engine and the AI. It's unironically the perfect solution and invokes exactly the type of gameplay that I wanted. I should probably state that I don't think I am responsible for any of this, for the record. More than likely, developers knew all about these issues before they even shipped Omens of Tyranny. I just ended up coming to the same conclusions that they did, and they've done a really good job of tackling the issues. If I am wrong and an Arrowhead employee does watch my videos, email me. Love your game, by the way. Big fan. Oh, real quick, I got an easy change to implement if you are here. If you're holding R, please don't have the Helldiver adjust where they're looking with the camera position. I wanted to get some great shots of holding the flag, but it necessitates walking towards the camera to be able to see my face. It would be nice to be able to get some shots like this without having to walk into a wall. Aside from that, I am surprised how little I have to say that's negative about Heart of Democracy. Except that the Illuminates still kind of suck, especially when compared to the automatons, but it's kind of an unfair comparison considering how much better the bots are than the other factions. Stay tuned to hear more about that, full video in the works, self-promotion, press the YouTube buttons, ugh. Regardless, this might be the first 10 out of 10 update that they've released. It's actually great. I love the world building that's come with Super Earth. Like the pony ride super destroyers, they really tell it all. Kids start getting brainwashed that early to be Helldivers. That's really something to take in. And yet the Illuminate are like outwardly extremely evil, even for the standards of this universe. I kind of thought that they were gonna pull the like, and then it turns out that Super Earth was evil as the most like obvious plot twist of all time. But Super Earth being genuinely better than the Illuminate is a crazy plot twist that I did not see coming. These guys are fucked up. The automatons probably got a pretty decent candidacy for the closest thing to like moral supremacy, fighting for the cyborgs' independence and all that, but they literally butcher SEAF on spikes, so I don't know. Maybe Super Earth was right all along. And before you're trying to report me to a democracy officer, I'm going to stop you ahead of time because I am the democracy officer. You don't get to the position of commander without some brainwashing. I'll let you in on a little secret. This flag, the one that I run in every mission, these ain't mass-produced. We genetically altered the silkworms to spin the entire Super Earth flag pattern for us. The super silkworms are heralds of managed democracy, like you and I. Remember all of the citizens that we're fighting for out there. All those who contribute to democracy, from the most patriotic Class A citizen to the even more patriotic Class S silkworm. Good luck.